how do you manifest success?
I remember being in the back of the bus and I was just like, I really need $105. As soon as I pulled my head up, a gold chain just flew in my hands. And I looked around. I didn't see anybody looking for it, so I kept the chain. And then I took it to a pawn shop and they gave me $105.
No. Garrain Jones, 2 7-figure businesses, $50,000 keynote speaker, $140,000 to hire as a one-on-one coach. Today, he's going to explain exactly how he built his business using manifestation. People want to understand how manifestation and how inner work actually works, like in practice.
There's a frame of thinking and being that can produce a reality in your life and get it to the point where you believe it and it changes the vibrational chemistry in your body. I was living in my car and I was $250,000 in debt.
But then only a few years later, you close over $500,000 in one day.
I was just very pessimistic. That's not real. That's fake. They're cheating to get ahead. That's when the majority of my focus was on the negative, lack, going without, blaming society, the news, my skin color, religion, the weather, the president, and just focusing on everything outside of me. I did not know until I started doing.
How do you think somebody can know whether they need to do more inner work versus more strategic business work?
You can be strategic and then attract a whole bunch of strategic, analytical thinking people, and it'll be a dry ass business with no type of personality. People don't buy product. They buy your expression of it. You sell the experience and they will spend top dollar for seeing a better version of themselves that's being fueled by a product that you're selling.
I'm just reading this because I'm nervous and I don't know what else to do. I just wanted to be recording from the moment Garrain came on, because sometimes people hop on the interview and I'm not recording yet, and sometimes they say great things, and sometimes our first instances together make for like really good moments, and I'm like, fuck, I wasn't recording yet. So I'm recording. I'm so nervous.
Hi.
Hi, Garrain.
Hold on. Something historical just happened.
What's that?
I have done about 25 Riverside podcasts, and I have never been able to get it on my computer until right now.
Hey, I'm taking that as a good sign.
No, it's a real good sign.
Absolutely. It's so nice to meet you. I'm Kelsey, by the way.
Nice to meet you as well.
I was spending some time with you before I spent some time with you. We got your book here.
Yeah, you're spending some time with the 2015 version of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're probably due for another one sometime soon, I would bet.
Oh yeah, no, several.
Yeah, definitely. Nice. How are you today?
I am so fabulous. I just got back from my spiritual advisor's house, and I just believe that everybody should have someone in their life that can pull out of them what they're not able to at that time pull out of themselves. And I think that's the cheat code. Like, have somebody that can see the things that you can't see in your life at all times.
Yeah, that's really funny. That's actually one of my biggest goals with doing these interviews. Yes, it's about content and, creating content that serves people. But one of my biggest goals for every interview is that I'm able to pull some kind of insight out of somebody that makes them think like, oh, that's a good question. Or like, I didn't think about that before, and kind of tweak something in their brain. It just like, it lights you up when you're like, somebody else saw something here that I wasn't seeing.
I love that. So how did you come by finding me?
I found Blair, actually.
Oh, okay. You're the one. Yes. Okay. Got it. Perfect.
Yeah. So I saw a video, and what I loved about it was just a one-take video of her walking around and talking about, how so many people stay in a job and, have the 50K, 70K salary, and they know they want more. And she just so eloquently expressed exactly how I feel and conversations that I've had in my life. And I just reached out to her and I was like, I fucking loved that video, man. Like, you nailed it. And you could just tell, like, the fact that she did it in one take, I was like, I could tell that you meant every word. And So I watched more of her content and I was like, man, I really vibe with this chick. And I just wanted to learn, like, hey, how'd you get where you are? And I was like, I would love to interview you. And she said that she, hadn't done a ton of interviews about herself before. And I was like, I would love to. And then after we spoke, I asked her, like, hey, if you know other people that, you think are really inspirational, I would love to interview them because I'm trying to get better at this. And she was like, well, you should talk to my husband, Garrain. And
I love
so
it.
I've been diving into your world for the last couple of weeks. I've been watching hours and hours of your content. And yeah, I'm very honored to have your time today. I'm very excited for this.
Myself as well. And thank you for having the courage to just even have platforms like this so stories like mine can have wings. We never really know how far these stories go. There's been people that I've connected with that were in languages that I've never even heard of. They were like, I saw this one but they're translating with me. And I'm like, wow, you just never really know where things like this end up.
Yeah. Or who's going to see it, who it's going to touch. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would love to, what I want to kind of focus this conversation on is something that I think people who seek out your content want to understand.
Yep.
And that's, how manifestation and how inner work actually works like in practice. So not
Yeah.
just the philosophy of it, but the actual mechanics of it.
Yeah.
So that's what I would love to talk about today. And I normally would start the show by doing a kind of introduction and getting you to share your story, but you have shared your story so abundantly. It's so accessible online in all these different interviews. So I would love to kind of just jump right into it and maybe try to come at this from a bit of a different angle than just getting you to do a life overview.
I will share. I was serving a 12-year prison sentence from 2002 to 2005. It got to the point where before I went into prison, I felt like I was already in prison. And it wasn't until I was in prison that I actually discovered my freedom. That was crazy to me because I was like, why do I feel more free in here than I do out there? And I had started doing all the things that I used to love to do as a child that brought me the most joy. I had forgiven all the people who hurt me. I had written a list of anybody that I held resentment towards, even the two men who murdered my father. And something about that combination, even though I didn't know it at that time, had freed me to the point where my life became a manifestation of the energy and the vibration that I was holding over a long period of time. Now, I'm saying all of that to say I needed to give you a bit of my story so that I could share where I noticed early on, and like in high school, when there was just a different world that had to do with thinking something, but it didn't make sense to me at that time. So I was in the 9th grade. And I needed money really bad. And the reason why I needed money is because I wanted to buy these 150, I think it was like 100 and no. I needed to pay something off. And if I didn't get that money, like something was going to happen. I needed to pay something off. It'd be a big fine. I'm in the 9th grade. My mother doesn't have any money. I don't know how I'm going to make the money. I don't have a job. And I remember being in the back of the bus and I was just like, I really need 105, really need 100. And I just remember saying that. And I was in the back of the bus and I put my hand in my head and I was like, I really need $105. And I can see it. I could see it. I could feel it. And as soon as I pulled my head up, it must have been 1 inch. As soon as I pulled my head up, a gold chain just flew in my hands. And I looked around, when somebody loses something, they're like, has anybody seen my chain? So I'm sitting in the back of the bus and I don't see anybody looking for anything, but it was almost as if that gold chain came in from another dimension. I wasn't using words at that time, so I'm connecting the dots looking backwards. And so I'm looking at this chain. I didn't see anybody looking for it, so I kept the chain. And then I took it to a pawn shop and they gave me $105.
No.
So early on, it would be things like that where I would think about something over and over and over and over again, and I would just hold the thought, and then it would end up happening. And I didn't know anything about there was manifesting or anything like that. I just remember being even younger than that. And I say, I would like lie to my friends. I'm like, I'm going to be a big model. I'm moving to Los Angeles. I model for Tommy Hilfiger. And they're like, you liar. And I just would always say it. And I would believe that lie. You know what ended up happening? I moved to Los Angeles. I modeled for Tommy Hilfiger, and I was one of the highest paid in North America African American male models. And then my friends from grade school, they were like, yo, you weren't lying. But in my head, I didn't know that if you could think about something over and over and over and over and over again and get it to the point where you believe it and it changes the vibrational chemistry in your body, the outside is the physical manifestation of what's going on inside. And so as I shared a couple of these stories, the last one that really, when I connect the dots looking backwards on my life, this is the one that really told me once I understood that there's a frame of thinking and being that can produce a reality in your life. I was 13 and I wasn't sick and I wanted to stay home from school. And so I'm like, Mom, I'm sick. Mom, I'm sick. And I kept saying it over and over. By the end of the day, I had 103 fever. I was throwing up. And that didn't make sense to me until I started reading The Secret and I learned about manifestation. I'm like, I've been doing this my whole life. So why don't I just quadruple down on the things that I clearly have results from? And I just kept deepening the practice over and over and over ever since then. And then when you see my life and you see what it came from, it is a direct result of my thoughts that I gave the most power to and a rapt focus on making sure that those thoughts are protected with an energy that matches like it was real before it was real.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I want to dig into that a little bit more because I was watching a lot of your content, a lot of your videos, and you said something in one of your videos that I think will really, really connect with people watching this. You were walking around your yard and you were talking about how there was a time in your life when you looked at people who are where you are now, like seven-figure business owners, traveling around the world, happy, healthy, seemingly wealthy in all the ways, and you'd think, how are they doing it? Like what have these people figured out that I have not figured out yet? But then only a few years later, you close over $500,000 in one day. And I remember you saying that you weren't surprised by that at all. You were
Yeah.
fully expected it to happen. So I have had so many moments of that, of, looking at seemingly successful people and thinking, there must be something that these people have figured out that I have not figured out yet. So
Yeah.
can you kind of take me back to how that shift from one extreme to the other happened? Like, was there ever a moment that you thought, I've done it. I get it now. I figured it out.
There wasn't any particular moment, but I will say when I was just very pessimistic, that's not real. That's fake. They're cheating to get ahead. That's when the majority of my focus was on the negative, lack, going without, blaming society, the news, my skin color, religion, the weather, the president, and just focusing all of these things and my avert attention on everything outside of me. I did not know until I started doing self-development work, emotional intelligence, learning how to communicate from the inside out, learning that the English or the written language is the least form of communication and that the vibration in the body can change the structure of the water in your, we're 75% waters. So basically how you hold thoughts determines the structure, which creates the frequency that you're vibrating at. We're the most powerful magnet in the world. And so when I started surrounding myself around those kind of people and seeing that it wasn't all for show, you are the sum total of the people that you choose to surround yourself around. When I was saying those negative things, I was around negative people that were complaining about the traffic and gossiping and all those different things. But I also noticed that they would always have bad things happen to them. Light is not heavy. So being around heavy conversations and Why isn't it happening for me? Oh my goodness, the left, the right, this religion, that religion, the Muslims are bad, white people are bad, black people are bad, and the white is bad, and all of that. I've never seen a continuous stream of overflowing positivity come from that frame of thinking that I used to have. Meanwhile, when I witness people who continually not only attract a high level of positive things in their life, they're genuinely happy. And they're so busy being happy and joyous that they're not worried about everything outside of them, because they have a different inner compass. So when I realized that I could shift that for myself, and I saw the difference in results quickly, damn, I've been broke for years, and I've been complaining for years, and I've been angry for years, and I've been in my ego for years. But the moment I shift my mentality, and all of a sudden positive things start happening, then I start making more money, then I have a different degree of friends. If I'm aware that how I show up in my attitude and my approach determines what shows up physically in my life, if I'm aware and I can clearly see the difference, now I have the data. Now I'm just being an idiot if I want to go and do something that I know I don't like. So the difference was being clear on what kind of life that I want. That's going to determine my thought environment, my food environment, who I hang out, my friend environment, what I'm listening to, my listening environment, and my spiritual environment. When all of those are pointing and trending up, there's no way you're going to wind up with a negative life. There's no way, because you're a powerful magnet.
Yeah. You touched on something that I think is really, really important there, because as of today, I believe you've currently built 2 7-figure businesses, and you talk a lot about inner alignment producing those outer results. But at some point, when somebody is trying to build a business, they have to do things like, make an offer, get on a sales call, build an audience. So when you were building that first business, how did that inner work actually translate into like tangible business results?
So here's what I can share with you. There were things that I did long before I started making money that I didn't even realize was going to serve me in that business. Like when I used to model, I didn't book 95% of my job. So I got rejected so many times. So I just started focusing less on the rejection and more on the yes. So my mind was already conditioned to focus on the yes. Now, I hope I get this job. Most people in sales are, I hope I get this job. And a lot of people in sales don't have the skin to even handle rejection, because a lot of people are rejecting themselves. So until you develop that callus of being able to focus on the powerful yes and grow through your nose, you will not, entrepreneurial life is not for you. You probably want something real stable, like a 9-to-5 job that'll pay you less than your value. You've got to be okay with that. Richard Branson got rejected with 100 companies before Virgin Records and Virgin America popped. He had a lipstick line, a car line, none of them worked. So you had to be willing to believe in yourself and bet on yourself over and over and over. But over time, you develop capacity, you expand your threshold, you develop confidence, you learn what works, you learn what doesn't work. So I came in to my first bout of entrepreneurship having already been rejected so many times that rejection wasn't going to do anything to me, because I really wanted to help people get healthy. And if they say no, they don't even know what they're saying no to. So I knew that my yes and me standing for what's possible for them was stronger than a no of the unknown. So I bet on the energy that I had, knowing that I have something very valuable for you. So I was speaking from a place of value, not hope. That's number one. And at that time, I was living in my car. Most people have a home. Most people have a car. I was living in my car, and I was $250,000 in debt. I didn't even have a home to go to. Somebody gave me an opportunity. And it wasn't, am I going to get the sales? I'm like, I want to help people. And this actually feels good. Like I can earn money doing something I would do for free. because I was already I was training people for free because I would go to Runyon Canyon and work people out and take them hiking and motivate them up the mountain because I loved hiking. So I just love hiking with people. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So when it came time for the first direct sales entrepreneurship business, they were like, what do you do? They go, oh, we work people out for free and we motivate them. I was like, how do you make money? Yeah, we get them on the products and then we motivate them. And I was like, I'm already doing this. I'm about to get paid for something that I would do for free. So see, I wasn't working for the money. I just happened to get paid for what I was already doing for free. I didn't have an Instagram. I didn't have any influence. All I had was a passion for what I was doing. And I was willing to learn. I was willing to read the books. I was willing to learn from successful leaders that had done what I never even thought about. So I didn't know anything about sales in that way. I didn't know anything about product knowledge. So what did I do? I sat down at Starbucks and I started reading and applying, started learning and applying. I attended all the meetings and I just kept showing up. It's like somebody who doesn't know how to play the piano and they just take 15 minutes a day. In 30 days, you'll be playing 10 songs because what you'll do is master the art of the compound effect. And that's what most entrepreneurs, they get 3 little things and they stop. Meanwhile, I'm 18 years in and I look for 3 things every single day. 3 new things that I can apply or 3 new things that I can learn. And so when it came to sales, what I learned is people don't buy product. They buy your expression of it. And then they also spend more on the value of what their life could look like if they have the product than just the product. So I got real good at storytelling, using analogies, using my life as a living testimony. And people are like, well, I want those results. Even while I was living in my car, I had unstoppable energy. I had lost 34 pounds, put on 19 pounds of muscle. But while I was going through the journey, people from my past were like, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you're doing, I want it. So what that taught me was it was less about the sales, but more about the expression of what I was doing that was changing my own life. You can find that in house sales. You can find that in energy drinks. You can find that in, if you're selling this watch, you're like, but I'm trying to sell the watch. No, you sell the experience. Something about this watch made me feel so good because I had safety on it. So you talk about safety, you talk about luxury, you talk about style and how it would look good in specific arenas when you go into your sales meetings. And then people start imagining themselves in a way that's better than their current reality. They've already sold it on themselves and they will spend top dollar for seeing a better version of themselves that's being fueled by a product that you're selling. That's what I got really good at, and I just never stopped. And anything that you keep doing over and over and over and over and over and over, you will get really good at it.
Yeah, I can totally see how having your background in the modeling and music industry made entrepreneurship kind of a bit more of a breeze in that way because you already were so used to rejection. There's way more rejection in the modeling industry than you would get in sales. So you were just ready for that.
Yeah, and people can use anything that you've overcome, you can use it in business. Oh, I can't keep a boyfriend. Oh my goodness, I got rejected by 15 men. Use that rejection to see what your part in that rejection was. And I can guarantee you it's exactly the way you sell business because how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you can take anywhere that's not working in your life and then break that apart and be like, here's what I'm responsible for. I have an attitude. I have an ego. I'm only thinking about myself and I'm coming from a selfish lens. All right, cool. So clearly that tactic's not working. Now, what has worked in your life? When I went and I really wanted this A in pre-calculus class. All right, what did you do? Well, I got a tutor. Okay, so you got somebody to help you see things that you could not see. Boom, that's called mentor. Okay, then 2, I studied every night because and then I visualized having an A. Okay, studying every night, getting 1% better every day, using visualization because you opened up your motor neurons to picturize it. you got a tutor so that you see where I'm going there? And so like you can take anywhere in your life that has worked, where you overcame something or you applied yourself in a certain way, you got a result that you want. That technique right there will be the exact same technique that you can use in sales to get a guy, to get an A, to get a woman, to be a better parent. It's just that a lot of times people don't realize that there's so many nuggets in their past that you can extract from, get the lessons. People say, leave the past in the past. Not if you didn't get the lesson. Because if you get the lesson, now you can create a new future. But if you don't get the lesson, your future will become a recreation of your past.
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. So if there was somebody watching this who, let's say, is earlier in entrepreneurship, how do you think somebody can know whether they need to do more inner work versus more strategic business work? Does that make sense?
Yeah, one is in the brain and one of them is in the wisdom of the body. And I can tell you this, if you do not have people skills and you do not have communication skills and you do not have an aspect of being intelligent with your emotions, and you're going to be around people, you're going to really suck at entrepreneurship. Really suck. It don't matter how strategic you are, because you can be strategic and then attract a whole bunch of strategic, analytical thinking people, and it'll be a dry ass business with no type of personality. You need both of them. But one thing's for sure, if you're going to do anything around people, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And they will know how much you care when you actually are caring, kind, you care about what they want, you care about what their goals are. So you need both of them, but a house can't become a home without the energy inside of the home. You can't just have the energy, but with no direction. It's like driving on a freeway with no lanes. So you need direction, which is the strategy part. And you need a car and a vehicle and somebody driving in the vehicle so that it can go somewhere. And so I wouldn't see them as one or the other. I would say you need your head with your eyeballs in it. So they come one and the same. But if you do too much of one, you'll probably pay the price in a long run. And in that case, that's when you want to delegate and get someone on your team or in your life where if it's strategy, it brings them life. If it doesn't bring your life, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot, because now you'll be putting yourself out in a position that is like, you don't need to put, Tom Brady doesn't need to play basketball. He's in the wrong position and in the wrong sport. And so you trying to do it all it's not going to work. So finding the right key people and putting them in a position of power and putting them in a position of power to where it's their genius and it lights them up, you will never go wrong. You will never go wrong when people are in the right position and they're in something that lights them up. Now you're building an organization of people who feel seen, who feel heard, who feel met. They feel like they're on fire. You can win in any environment when all conditions are geared like that.
Right. Yeah, it made me think of that phrase that, selling is a transfer of emotion. So you need the communication skills, the sales skills essentially, but you need the energy, the emotion behind it. So it's a balance of both.
Yep.
That makes sense to me. Okay. So you talked about earlier how when you were going for modeling, you felt confident telling people like I'm a model. I'm going to model for Tommy Hilfiger, and you spoke it into life as though it was already happening. And I noticed I watched
didn't know I was doing that at that time. I was just trying to be seen a certain way. I was like, because I was playing football in the street, getting tackled. I was like, I can't have any scars. I have a modeling gig coming up. But I was like lying. But then everything I lied about happened. So that was the early on. I was like, how come every time I say things like this, they happen?
Yeah. And this brings me back to when I was watching your interview with Tom Bilyeu. I remember you talking about how we are our language and we become what we repeatedly say we are. But I've also heard you say that affirmations don't work if you can't honestly believe them somewhere in yourself. So if there is somebody who, let's say, was maybe where you once were. Like maybe they grew up with feelings of financial scarcity. They're trying to build a business, they're trying to change lives, and they're practicing believing that they are wealthy, they are successful, and they are deserving of being both. But deep down, they feel like they've never really seen evidence of that. How do you think we can embody that wealthy mindset when it feels a little bit delusional at the time?
Well, you just take it from the Wrights brothers. When there was no flying vehicles, they're like, we're going to build a plane. And I'm sure it was delusional. Almost every invention, you're going to create a computer that mimics people's brains? Yeah, okay. Now we got computers on phones. Now we got computers on watches. So every great idea first started out as a delusional thought and somebody who was bold enough to just carry that out. And for someone who's really trying to get going, it is so important for you to believe, even when no one else believes. Because if you don't, you'll become a figment of someone else's imagination, and you will stage yourself out of your own authenticity. And that overcompensation, it won't turn out well. You'll end up resenting. There's lies will be told. You'll have anxiety, depression, heart attacks. A lot of those things happen. They're mentally induced. I don't think we've just been taught. The education system, they'll tell you that we have a powerful mind, but it's actually a gazillion times more powerful. And so you can be pitiful or you can be powerful, but you can't choose both. And I'm going to speak to the little kid inside of you, not the adult that forgot, that abandoned their little kid. Everybody's little kid once was like truly pure magical, unlimited energy, unlimited creativity, pushing all the buttons, opening all the doors. And it was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It was always something massive. Why, when you're like 15, 20, after the world has already got its hands on you, you're like, oh, I'm going to do what my dad's doing. I'm going to do what my mom's doing. I'm going to do what this person outside of me is doing. And meanwhile, there's a little voice inside that says, what about me? I always wanted to do this, but I never gave myself permission. I will say the thing that you always wanted to do when you were a little kid, maybe it was playing the piano, maybe it was painting. If you start today and you just start leaning into the thing that you always wanted to do as a child, it's not about scaling. It's about scaling your damn heart. The EKGs of the heart is the most powerful frequency in the world. So when we don't use that and we use this linear brain, when all the wisdom is in the body, this ain't real wisdom. It's just somebody with a great memory. When you tap into the deep reaches of your heart, that's where all your creativity comes from. That's where your ideas come from. You will open up the gateway that flows new ideas because you're using the very portal that gains you access to that. And so more than anything, more than entrepreneurship, how are you finding joy inside on a continuous basis? Because if you are not, you're going to have a very sad experience in entrepreneurship. Very sad experience. There's got to be something that's fueling you. And it can't just be money. Money's fueling me. It's a piece of paper with preconceived value that the government can make it go high or low at any given moment. And the moment your attitude, your energy is connected to paper, that now becomes your God. And you don't have, if something outside of you can control your emotions, that becomes your God. It has to come from within, the divinity within. So you start with your heart. And then you take that version of you out into any field. You take it, go get a man, go get a woman, go come up with ideas before any sales call, dance to your favorite song. I guarantee you it'll be 1,000 times greater experience than you just like, I hope and you don't have any fuel. The $1 billion rocket ship isn't going anywhere without any fuel. Let the fuel be your natural joy state. If you haven't felt it in a while, that's the first place I would look. And if that's some place that you often go to, use that inside of your business before you get into conversations. And I guarantee you that's the seismic shift that you probably been praying for that you didn't even know that you could give to yourself.
Oh my goodness. This actually made me think of something that I wanted to get your perspective on anyway. So this seems very serendipitous. I recently interviewed somebody on this show who grew a 7-figure business by making YouTube content. And then he walked away from it all and he said, I never liked the work. I actually started to really hate it in the last few years, but I did it for the money. And still, a piece of advice that he shared with me on that call was, you're not here to express yourself. This isn't your art project. You're here to provide something that people want. And I think this is something that I've seen a lot of, especially new entrepreneurs, like burn themselves out going through, is this, we have this belief that success has to feel like hard work and that we have to push ourselves instead of allowing ourselves to feel pulled. So how do you know, or how would you advise somebody on the difference between being pulled by joy versus just avoiding hard work?
Well, inside of being pulled by joy can be hard work. I didn't know how to play the piano, but I always wanted to play the piano. So it was really hard work to learn all the different chord shapes and things like that. I'm like, this is stupid. Why should I? But I've always wanted to play the piano. So now, 8 months later, you would think I've been playing the piano for 20 something years. They're like, how'd you get that good that fast? I really wanted to play the piano. Was it difficult? Yeah, in the beginning. So it's like, but there was something that superseded the hard work. The hard work was attached to something I always wanted to do. And I always say, when God gives you something, it comes within, like batteries included, it comes attached a series of things that you must overcome, that when you overcome it, you'll have the capacity to appreciate the gift. Because if somebody just gives you something, like a $150,000 BMW, it's okay, I got it for free. You'll treat free like that. That's why my coaching, like, I'm high ticket. You pay $140,000 for me for 1 year. Why do you have to charge so much? Have you gone to Phantom Rolls Royce and asked the owner why do they charge so much? Because it's a premium product that delivers on that product every time out. I'm a premium coach that delivers on when I pour my life force in you every single time out. I've been in the game for almost 18 years. And so for me, it's important to, one, know what the product is, get really clear, know what your worth is, not like you're punching above your weight class, but know your worth. Like, I put in a lot of hours and a lot of time, and I've got a lot of testimonials to back up any level of things that I share. And then being willing to be a student, to take feedback and learn day in and day out on how to continue to evolve through the process. And inside of that, in some weird way, answers the question that you ask, but you've got to be thinking, how can I better my life? How can I better myself? I'm willing to learn. Because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I know. But if I know is not producing the result in your life, then you don't know. But in the receivership of being willing to learn, now it puts you in the frequency of receiving. When you can learn how to receive at the capacity that you give, when you can be a student and a leader simultaneously, when your ego's in check and you don't pretend like you know everything, you're just willing to learn. Inside of that, you can learn everything. And all of a sudden you look up and you're like, look at my life. Look at my life. But this is what you work hard for. And when you work hard in that way, that's the difference in working hard in something you know you don't like, that you settled for, that where you're trying to please everyone else, but your real self, and you're tolerating this thing. That's the one that's going to eat you alive. So the YouTuber was tolerating something, made this money, and it crushed his soul. Meanwhile, I got a friend that's been doing YouTube for 18 years and he is crushing it, but he's always loved it. I was like, you can get paid for what you love. That's why you don't have to pay me anything for me to show up my best as a facilitator and as a coach and as somebody who navigates and creates very high level safe spaces for 100% of the people in those spaces to transform. You don't have to pay me a dime, but if you're going to pay me a dime, well, it's premium. However, I don't get tired doing something I would do for free. So that is a form of my expression because it's something that I actually want to do. And your friend was like, I never wanted to do that. That's why the dissonance happens. Dissonance doesn't happen for me. So I'm willing to do whatever hard work that expands my capacity to get me to the next level.
So it was actually a quote that I heard from you that made me kind of gave me the courage to go for setting up this interview. Because once I saw what an audience you have, once I saw that you'd been interviewed by people that I look up to, like Ed Milet and Tom Bilyeu, I was like, holy shit. And I specifically thought of a quote that I've heard you say over and over in your content and in your book. And it was that moment in your car when you kind of cried out to God and you said, and I want to make a bunch of money, but I want to do it by something that is deeply meaningful and that I would gladly do for free. And I was like, that's what this is for me. And I got to just fucking do it and just trust what's going to happen. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
You're welcome. That's the seed. You got to think, when you look out, my house is surrounded by trees. Each one of those trees came from a seed, and that seed was connected to a much larger picture. When you make a decision and it's out of fear, or it's out of fear of missing out, or regret, or revenge, whatever the energy that you're in, when you make that decision, that determines the nutrients that's inside of the roots of your life. That's why you can have an amazing life. But if at the point of conception of you making that decision, you were, I'll show you, that's why when you say, like, I've got it all, but something's missing. Why do I feel off? Because you don't understand that energy has been following you underneath, kind of like the rooting system. And so when you make a decision and you're like full F yes, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to have so much faith and I'm just going to go for it. And that plants the seed. That's why it's going to work out. That's why it's going to work out. Even if the top layer, the podcast, doesn't work out, the fact that you had courage and faith to do the thing that you were fearing, like, I'm going to do it anyways, and I'm going to have faith, that just expanded you. So now that same faith can be applied to every other area in your life simply because you had something that you didn't have before. So I applaud you for doing that. I don't do it all the time because I really value my time. When someone has a younger platform, I always love saying yes, because you just never know. It's like, I love when somebody just believes in something and they keep going. Like right now, I get $50,000 for a 60-minute keynote speech. My first $50,000 came from somebody who used to be an ex-podcaster. They started out, nobody would get on their podcast because they didn't have any listeners. And I had already had a little bit of influence. And I said yes. They're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you said yes. And then they just kept giving me updates. Well, they kept growing and they grew a big podcast. Then all of a sudden they became this entrepreneur. They started doing really, really well. Then they became the CEO of this really big company. Now the company was worth $50 million. And then they had a speaker's budget. Guess who they considered first? Me. And I'm like, it's funny how it all comes back around. So I never forget those type of moments because I love when progress happens. So as much as I can do in the space of my own energetic field, I'll say yes when I tune in and the ping says, say.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. I love those full circle stories. Is there anything that you are currently manifesting that you want to achieve with your business that you haven't achieved yet?
Last night, was the first time I saw $10 million. And I don't even know where that came from, but I just trusted. I saw $10 million. I saw 10 million followers on Instagram. I've never even seen a vision of how followers on Instagram. I saw 1 million plus subscribers on YouTube. I saw an exploding TikTok, and I saw it all harmoniously working together. And that was in my dream last night. So I guess I got something to go for, but it's like, without a vision, you'll perish. And I don't do it for the followers. I don't do it for the money. I don't do it. However, it's a part of the webbing that is connected to the totality of everything. And I'm not afraid to say it out loud. Why? Because the death in life is at the power of the tongue, and words are very powerful signals, especially when you believe it but in order for me to believe it, I got to keep saying it. I got to keep saying it over and over and over. Kind of like my marriage. It's like my wife knows that I love her. However, if I go 2 days and she doesn't hear I love you, what do you think she's going to say? If for 8 straight years, 50 times a day, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. What happens if I go 2 days out of nowhere? What do you think?
It's probably going to have a question.
So what happens if I go a whole month and I just no response, whole month, and I don't say I love you?
Yeah, there'd be a shift.
Okay, now you understand why most people's manifestations do not work, because they don't treat it like they would treat someone who knows that they love them, but they keep reiterating. It's the reminder. Yeah, of course you planted the seed and gave it water, proper water and sunlight. But if you don't keep watering the thing, the weeds, that nobody plants weeds, it's just a part of the ecosystem. It's going to come and overtake the garden. Well, without the constant reassurance, it's going to come and overtake the mental garden. Manifestation works the exact same way. It's how are you nurturing your dream over and over and over and over and over until it's real in your body. And even when it's real, you still got to tend the garden.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's such a good reframe on why affirmations work. It's just a reminder of what you already know, what's already implied, but the reminder in itself is valuable.
Yeah, because you brush your teeth every single day. What if you stop for 10 days? I've been doing it for 20 years. How does because the whole purpose is to renew your hygiene. That's why you take a shower on the daily for most of us. Sometimes Blair gets upset. She's like, Garrain, you smell. I'm like, I've been working. I don't want to come out of it. However, it's the same principles. The same way that you would share love, or you would have an animal. You'd be like, hey, boy. If you was just silent to your dog, same shift. So if you're silent to your manifestation, silent to love, not taking a shower, not brushing your teeth, the same things, the weeds of whatever that context is, will come overtake the garden, and it will eventually kill it off.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, that's awesome. Before I get to the final question that I always like to ask people, I just wanted to thank you for coming on here and giving me your time. I was honestly a little nervous leading up to this call. I was reviewing a lot of your content. I was seeing some of the huge productions that you've done. I was learning about the business you've built and how much you earn for your time. And this thought kind of kept surfacing of like, who am I to interview this person? Like, how privileged am I that he's giving me his time? And like, what do I have to offer him? And then it was actually one of your old raw unproduced videos. It was a Q&A that you did on YouTube 9 years ago that I watched, and it really helped me with that feeling, because in that Q&A you said the greatest gift that you can give to people is you in your authentic form. And I thought, this is truly me in my raw, vulnerable, authentic form. I'm just getting this show off the ground. I'm moving away from work that I used to push myself to do, to shift into work that I feel pulled to do. I don't have a huge audience. I'm figuring it out. And the utmost example of an inspired idiot in many ways. And I thought, I can give you that. And I can give you one more person whose life you have impacted, and maybe 10,000 more people who might now learn something new about you and be exposed to your world. And I wanted to say thank you for giving me that opportunity.
You are so very welcome, my friend. And I'm going to share this. Would it be okay if I share what just came up after you shared that? You get to be gentle with yourself. There's so much magic inside of there. And instead of who am I, it's like, wow, we attracted this together. And so you can look up at somebody, or you can look with someone. And in looking with, it doesn't make you different. It just life has different ingredients. And inside of that, the vibration rises. And as the vibration rises, you attract different calibers of people. So let this call be a reminder of the magical power that you have in your authentic state to create pretty cool pretty cool outcomes. And so I applaud you. I acknowledge you. And this is only the beginning to so much more. We cannot go backwards. We're going to go forward from here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. The last question that I like to ask everybody is, if you could give one piece of advice to people who relate to feeling like an inspired idiot, in that there's some big goal they want to achieve. They feel like they really have no idea how they're going to get there, but they're like, fuck it. I'm going to go for it anyway, and I'm just going to figure it out. What is the first thing that comes to your mind?
First thing that comes to my mind is I would love context on what inspired idiot means to you, because the way that
Yeah.
it framed didn't land for me because I didn't know the context and how you created and what that is for you.
Yeah. So the reason that we chose that name is because I started interviewing people early in my business journey just because I wanted to learn how they were figuring shit out. And I wanted to ask the dumb questions that I think sometimes people feel too embarrassed to ask. And I realized that all the people that I was looking up to, and every person who I've ever perceived as successful, has had a point in their journey where they felt like an inspired idiot. They're like, I have this idea. I have this quote, unrealistic goal. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I'm willing to look delusional. I'm willing to look stupid sometimes, figuring it out. I'm willing to be embarrassed. I don't care if people think that I'm foolish or whatever. I'm willing to go through that because there's something pulling me here. And so when I tell people that name, it's one reaction or another. People either laugh and they're like, I instantly understood it because I know what that feels like. I've had moments where I've absolutely felt like an inspired idiot. Some people don't get it, and that's okay. But to me, it really resonated because I think if more people could embrace that mindset and just kind of laugh at it and be like, I'm in my inspired idiot phase right now, and see the rejections and see the failure as just part of the journey of you figuring it out, I think we would see more people actually building what they want to build because they wouldn't run from the failure and run from the rejection and the judgment. They'd just be like, this is just my inspired idiot era right now, and I'm into it.
Got it. Thank you for the clarity, because I'm like, okay, there had to be a reason. I just will need to know the reason so then I can answer the question from the context instead of my own judgment of what I think that is. Would you
Yeah.
mind asking that question over again?
Yeah, if you could give one piece of advice to people who feel that way, they feel like there's some unrealistic life they're trying to build, some big goal, and they're like, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I trust that I'm going to figure it out and go for it. What would you tell those people?
Be committed to the process, but unattached to the outcome, because the process will shape you, and you stay attached to the outcome, you may miss out on X more that could have been available through the process. So be committed to the process and unattached to the outcome.
Nice. Be here for the journey. Nice. I love that. That's cool. So we have a little bit of time left together, and I wanted to maybe shift the mic over to you and ask you if you'd be willing to share, like if somebody started working with you and they wanted to get into this inner work, this inner child work, what would a first session with you look like? Are there certain questions that you like to ask people in that first interaction?
Is this one-on-one or is this at my retreats? Because I have many different ways to work with me.
Yeah, let's say one-on-one.
Okay, so somebody's coming in. I turn quite a few people away because your money's not good enough. There's an energy and a readiness that I'm looking for. So first off, we're going to have a discovery call, and I'm going to ask you a series of questions on why me, why you, what you want to create, what are your weaknesses, what do you think your strengths are, and are you allergic to accountability? I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and based off of how you answer those questions determines if I want to invest my life force and time away from my children in you. The reason why everybody that I work with tends to 10x is because of my discovery call process to see if you are even in the right energy and then in the right frame of thinking to have a coach in your corner. Because I'm not here to babysit. So you want to pay $140,000 for me to babysit you, you can keep your money, go find somebody else, because I'm not going to lead you to me. I'm going to lead you back to yourself. And this will be a partnership type deal. However, most people that I encounter aren't ready for one-on-one. So they either don't have the money or they either don't have the mentality. they don't have the mentality, because I just have a different degree of working with high vibrational people. So we have Tribe of Creators, which is my community, and we have 1-day retreats called Temple Day. However, the really cool one that I'm really excited about, I have a year-long mastermind, and it's called Tribe Mind. And man, we support people with their businesses. They support each other with their businesses. I bring in some of my friends that I know from the industry, and we get to interview them. I share my magic. We have 3 in-person events per year with dinner and brainstorming and all those things of that nature. That is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful offering that could easily be $50,000, but it's, for right now, it's $15,000 for the year. And then you come in with a bunch of high vibrational people. You're either going to fall in the category of the Tribe of Creators or the mastermind, or I'll see you at Temple Day. And then the discovery call, we'll see if someone is ready for one-on-one, because I want to work with people who know they are winners, and they need guidance. And I get to pick and choose who I work with, and your money's not good enough.
So would you say when you're doing that discovery call with somebody, there are certain just energetic qualities that you're looking for in like
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because one of the benefits of me maintaining an organization of 75,000 people, because I've learned to develop leaders, not followers, over the years, is the reason why they have personality tests, because not that many personalities. So when you have that kind of access to that many people, you start seeing which attitudes tend to do well, which ones don't, which selfishness tends to attract other selfish people, which service-minded leaders tend to attract, and which organizations sustain over a long period of time. Oftentimes I'm looking for an energy. You got to ask, like, how did Phil Jackson find Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant? Think about it, like 2 of the greatest of all times. He knew what he was looking for. And because I've had access to so many different kinds of people, personalities, and egos, I know the frame, the ingredients. And typically it's dissatisfied ex-athletes or dissatisfied people with a chip on their shoulder, know that they were meant for more, or they're already operating from the more, but they don't have the totality of their life in abundance the way that they want to. And then they see the totality of my life. They were like, whatever that is in the full range of your life, not just one area, teach me how to do that. And so I look for people who have specific type of ingredients. And then there's things that I can't quite put words, human words to. It's an energy and it's a felt sense. It's the reason why you're going to walk in a room full of people. Nobody's talking. And you're like, something feels off. And then something happens that's negative. Or you can walk in a room full of people who loves you. Nobody's talking. You're like, oh, something about this feels really good. So we have energy bodies in us, on us, around us, 100 foot out, every direction. It's that. So, yeah, it's definitely a felt sense. And I get really excited when our 2 energies play off of one another, because I know something good is about to happen for a fact.
Yeah. I think that's really important. And I'm glad that you said that it's like you turn people away who are willing to pay you over $100,000 for the year. And it doesn't sound like it's just about like a personal, like, do we jive? You actually get on that call to feel that person's energy and to get a sense of, where is this person coming from with this desire? So is it that you're trying to sense, like, is this desire coming from a place of lack? Is it coming from a place of wanting to give more? Like you're trying to get a sense of that, it sounds like. Okay, that's really cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, that was my last question for you. I kind of wanted to get a glimpse into your world of how you work with your clients. And it sounds like, I know you've got all kinds of tiers that people can get access to you and learn from you, all the way up to your one-on-ones. Yeah. So if people wanted to learn more, GarrainJones.com would be the best place to send them.
Soon to be Garrain Ashe.
What is the story behind
Well,
the name?
Jones is a slave owner's name, and I never wanted it. I just tolerated it. And this past year, I decided that I no longer just wanted to just like carry that level of pillage and slavery in a name, it wasn't given as a name, it was given as a scar. And Ashe is a connection to my West African roots. And we're probably days a few days away from the legal change of it, because I changed it earlier this year. And I no longer go by that, but then legally I didn't want any other records that contain the name Jones.
So was Ashe a family name, or was it a name you intentionally chose?
No, it came to me. The moment I consciously lifted Jones, Blair said, well, what would you name it? I was like, I don't know. I just know that my descendants are from West Africa and that the deepest part of the ancestral DNA comes through the mother, through the mitochondria DNA. You didn't learn about that in school, but it's a real thing because you can track it by way of birth. As soon as I said that, a vibration took over my whole body. Then all of a sudden, Ashe flew out of my name. And I don't even use that word. I've heard it at the end of prayer, but I didn't know what it meant. Then we looked up Ashe and it says it derives from West Africa. I was like, whoa, I was just talking about that. So it was a whole entire journey that, I'm still integrating right now, but I'm so grateful to be once again the disruptor that is living his highest level of authenticity based off of the vibration of who he is today.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. I was actually curious about that because I saw a video of you talking to your daughter on Instagram, and you said somewhere in there, the Ashes, I think you were talking about like the family affirmations that you guys do.
Yeah.
And I was curious. I was like, oh, I wonder if they have two last names, or maybe one was Garrain's and maybe one was Blair's. So
yeah,
that's cool. Thank you for sharing that.
You're so very welcome.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you again for your time, Garrain. This has been an absolute privilege. I'm so thankful that you carved out time away from your family, away from your business to share your life with me. And it was really great to meet you. I appreciate this a lot.
Nice to meet you as well, my friend. And I look forward to hearing about all of your progress and how you continue to unfold that brave flower of yours. And just please keep me updated.
I will. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care. Okay.